In the early 2000s, Nokia was an undisputed titan of global technology, a brand synonymous with mobile communication. Its phones were ubiquitous, rugged, and innovative. Yet, in less than a decade, this colossus crumbled, its mobile division ultimately sold off, its market dominance evaporated. How could a company so powerful, so ingrained in everyday life, suffer such a catastrophic decline? This investigation probes the strategic missteps, the seismic shifts in the mobile landscape, and the revolutionary forces that converged to dismantle a global empire, leaving behind a stark warning for every tech giant today. We'll trace the company's dramatic rise, its golden era, and the critical decisions that led to its precipitous fall. Nokia's dominance was staggering. By 2007, the year Apple unveiled the iPhone, Nokia held an astounding 40% of the global mobile phone market, according to data from Strategy Analytics and Gartner. The company wasn't just shipping devices, it was defining the mobile experience for millions, from emerging markets to executive boardrooms. That year alone, Nokia shipped an incredible 437 million units, more than any other manufacturer. Its strength lay in its robust hardware, efficient supply chain, and global reach. It offered a range of devices, from simple, durable feature phones to sophisticated Symbian-powered models like the N95, considered by many to be a technological marvel of its time, albeit a pre-touchscreen one. While Nokia was basking in its market leadership, subtle shifts were already underway. Competitors like BlackBerry had carved out a lucrative niche, dominating the enterprise market with secure email and physical keyboards, highly valued by business professionals. Companies like Palm were experimenting with early touchscreen PDAs, hinting at a future where phones were more than just communication devices. These weren't direct threats to Nokia's mass-market feature phone dominance, but they represented a growing demand for devices that offered advanced functionality beyond basic calls and texts. They were signals of an evolving user expectation, a move towards convergence that Nokia, experts argue, was slow to fully grasp or prioritize. Then came the earthquake. On January 9, 2007, Steve Jobs stood on stage and uttered words that would forever change the tech landscape. "We're going to make some history together today." He unveiled the original iPhone. It wasn't just a phone, it was a revolution in user experience, combining a phone, an iPod, and an internet communicator into a single, elegant, multi-touch device. The iPhone introduced an intuitive interface, large touchscreen, and critically, a nascent app ecosystem that would soon explode into a trillion-dollar industry. This was a direct assault on the conventional wisdom of mobile phone design and functionality, fundamentally redefining what a phone could be. Nokia's initial response to the iPhone was, according to many industry analysts and former executives, one of dismissive arrogance. Reportedly, Nokia's then CEO, Olli-Pekka Kalasvuo, described the iPhone as a niche, high-end device that wouldn't appeal to Nokia's broad customer base or its established business model focused on volume and affordability. The company believed its Symbian operating system, its extensive portfolio of feature phones, and its global distribution network were impregnable. They saw the iPhone as a competitor to their N-series high-end devices, not as a fundamental redefinition of the entire mobile market. This underestimation would prove to be one of their most critical strategic errors, as it delayed a coherent and aggressive response. At the heart of Nokia's smartphone strategy was Symbian OS, an operating system acquired and largely controlled by Nokia. While Symbian had powered millions of devices and was robust for its time, it was increasingly showing its age. Critics, including former Nokia engineers, pointed to its complex development environment, which made it difficult and time-consuming for third-party developers to create apps. Its user interface was clunky and not designed for touch-first interaction, making it feel outdated compared to the iPhone's slick iOS. Furthermore, Symbian's development cycle was slow, hampered by internal politics and fragmentation, meaning Nokia struggled to rapidly innovate and respond to the evolving market demands, leaving it increasingly vulnerable. As Nokia grappled with Symbian, another disruptive force emerged: Google's Android. Launched in 2008 with the HTC Dream, T-Mobile G1, Android represented a different kind of revolution, an open-source operating system available to any hardware manufacturer. This strategy proved incredibly successful. By offering a free, flexible OS, Google rapidly attracted a consortium of hardware partners, including Samsung, HTC, and Motorola. Data from Connolly shows Android's market share growing from approximately 20% in 2010 to a staggering 48% by Q4 2011, eclipsing both Apple and the struggling Symbian. The rapid iteration and widespread adoption of Android devices created a powerful and diverse ecosystem, further marginalizing Nokia's closed approach. Beyond technological missteps, internal issues plagued Nokia. Numerous reports from former employees and industry analysts describe a corporate culture riddled with bureaucracy, infighting, and a not invented here syndrome. Decisions were slow, hampered by multiple layers of management and conflicting departmental priorities. Sources like the Nokia, the Burning Platform documentary highlight a deep-seated resistance to change, where those who championed new ideas, particularly around touchscreens and modern software, often faced internal opposition. This organizational inertia meant that even when the threat was recognized, the company struggled to mobilize its vast resources effectively to counter it, leaving it unable to pivot with the agility required by the rapidly evolving smartphone market. Amidst Symbian's decline, Nokia did attempt to build a modern OS, MeeGo. A collaboration with Intel, MeeGo promised a sleek, Linux-based operating system with a compelling, gesture-driven user interface. The Nokia N9, launched in 2011, running MeeGo, received critical acclaim for its innovative design and fluid user experience. Many observers, including technology reviewers at the time, saw it as a glimpse into what Nokia could have been. However, by the time the N9 was released, Nokia's leadership had already made a fateful decision to abandon MeeGo in favor of a partnership with Microsoft and its Windows Phone OS, effectively signing MeeGo's death warrant before it even had a chance to flourish. This pivotal strategic shift left MeeGo as a tragic what-if in mobile history. In September 2010, Nokia appointed Stephen Elop, a former Microsoft executive, as CEO, a controversial choice given his background. Just 5 months later, in February 2011, Elop sent a powerful internal memo to all employees, famously describing Nokia's situation as a burning platform. He wrote, "We are standing on a burning platform, and we have to decide how we are going to change our behavior." The memo, which was quickly leaked, was an unprecedented public admission of Nokia's dire predicament and served as a prelude to a radical new strategy. It acknowledged the company's failure to adapt and signaled a dramatic shift away from its legacy operating systems, aiming to shock the company into decisive action. Elop's solution to the burning platform was a dramatic pivot, a strategic alliance with Microsoft. Announced in February 2011, Nokia would abandon Symbian and MeeGo, adopting Windows Phone as its primary smartphone operating system. The rationale, according to Elop and Microsoft, was to create a powerful third ecosystem to challenge the duopoly of iOS and Android. However, critics, including many former Nokia employees and industry pundits, argued that this was a poisoned chalice. By tying its fate to a struggling OS from a competitor, Nokia risked losing its unique identity and alienating its loyal developer community. It was a high-stakes gamble that fundamentally altered Nokia's trajectory and tied its future to the success or failure of Windows Phone. Despite Nokia's efforts and the acclaimed hardware of its Lumia range, like the Lumia 920 with its innovative camera technology, the Windows Phone strategy struggled to gain traction. The primary culprit was the app gap. Developers, facing limited resources and market demand, prioritized building applications for the dominant iOS and Android platforms. As a result, Windows Phone users found themselves with a sparse app store, lacking many popular applications and services available on rival devices. This created a vicious cycle: few apps meant few users, which in turn meant even fewer developers. Data from IDC confirmed this, showing Windows Phone consistently holding a mere 3% or less of the global smartphone market in 2012, while Android and iOS collectively commanded over 90%. The consequences of these strategic failures were brutal and swift. From its peak of 40% global market share in 2007, Nokia's share plummeted. By 2011, it had fallen to approximately 24%, and by 2013, on the eve of its acquisition by Microsoft, Nokia's mobile phone market share, according to Gartner, had dwindled to just over 3%. This wasn't merely a decline, it was a precipitous fall from grace, marking one of the fastest and most dramatic destructions of market leadership in corporate history. The company, once a symbol of Finnish innovation and global reach, was bleeding cash, struggling to retain talent, and increasingly marginalized in the very industry it had once dominated, facing an existential crisis. The culmination of Nokia's mobile struggles came in September 2013, when Microsoft announced it would acquire Nokia's Devices and Services division for approximately $7.2 billion. Microsoft CEO Steve Ballmer, who championed the deal, declared it a bold step into the future, a win-win for employees, shareholders, and consumers. For Nokia, it meant an end to its era as a mobile phone manufacturer, allowing the remaining company to focus on its networking infrastructure business. For Microsoft, it was a desperate attempt to gain a foothold in the smartphone hardware market and salvage Windows Phone. However, many analysts viewed the acquisition with skepticism, questioning the value and the integration challenges, predicting a difficult road ahead for the combined entity. The Microsoft-Nokia merger, rather than a salvation, proved to be a costly misadventure. Microsoft continued to release Lumia-branded phones, but they failed to capture significant market share. The app gap persisted, and consumer interest waned further. In July 2015, just 2 years after the acquisition, Microsoft announced a massive write-down of $7.6 billion related to the Nokia acquisition, effectively admitting the failure of its smartphone ambitions. Stephen Elop, who had returned to Microsoft as head of the Devices Group, departed. Microsoft eventually exited the consumer smartphone market, ending support for Windows Phone and effectively rendering the entire Nokia mobile acquisition a monumental and expensive corporate blunder, a testament to the difficulty of creating a new mobile ecosystem. Nokia's fall offers critical lessons in corporate strategy. Firstly, the underestimation of software and ecosystems was paramount. While Nokia excelled in hardware, it failed to grasp that the smartphone battle would be won or lost on software experience and the breadth of its app store. Secondly, slow decision-making and a bureaucratic culture hindered its ability to adapt rapidly. Thirdly, the company's fragmented OS strategy, juggling Symbian, Nemo/Migo, and then Windows Phone, spread its resources thin and confused its market messaging. Lastly, its delayed adoption of a true touchscreen, coupled with a focus on older business models, left it vulnerable to agile, innovative competitors. These points are consistently highlighted by researchers like Govindarajan and Trimble in their analysis of corporate innovation. Despite the dramatic collapse of its mobile division, the Nokia brand itself proved resilient. Today, Nokia is a strong player in network infrastructure, a leader in 5G technology, competing with giants like Ericsson and Huawei. Its devices and services remnants were eventually licensed to HMD Global, a Finnish company that produces Android-powered Nokia phones. These new Nokia phones, while no longer produced by the original Finnish giant, carry on the brand's legacy, focusing on reliability and affordability in the Android ecosystem. This strategic pivot back to its roots in telecommunications equipment demonstrates how a company can rebuild and redefine itself after a devastating corporate failure, finding new avenues for growth and innovation. The story of Nokia serves as a powerful cautionary tale for every company, especially in the volatile tech industry. It underscores that past success is no guarantee of future relevance. The rapid pace of technological change demands constant innovation, a keen understanding of evolving consumer needs, and the agility to pivot strategically. Companies must prioritize software and ecosystem development as much as hardware. They must foster a culture that embraces change, rather than resisting it, and be willing to disrupt their own successful models before others do. In an age where digital disruption can overturn decades of dominance in mere years, Nokia's fall is a stark reminder: innovate or be innovated upon, adapt or become obsolete. The burning platform is always a potential reality.